Hi, and welcome to Ultimate Mini Madness, the latest in our series of high-performance mini DVDs. Now, in the past, we've tended to concentrate purely on road cars. That's still going to be our priority, but we've also thrown in a couple of very serious competition machines. One a rally car, and one a hill climb and track specialist. That's going to be a real clash of the titans, and I can't wait to see what the results are on that. Now, as well as that, we've also got some GPS timing gear along today, and we're going to be timing every one of our cars 0 to 60. That's really going to be fascinating. Very revealing, I'm sure. And of course, we'll also be timing the laps as per usual. Now, as you can see, I've been riding shotgun with Minifilm's very own version of Top Gear's The Stig, except he's twice as attractive, so he doesn't have to wear a helmet. Now, Bill, since we're here and I'm sat beside you, what about a flying lap?
Well, here we are, Cobra running in reverse, which means we're asking even more of the brakes. And we get a very, very long run up to the first corner here. It was more or less hairpin, so a lot of concentration on the braking point. So you pick your braking point, most cars are down 2 gears here, very deep entry to the corner, late apex, but then we've got the car sort of straightened up and you can see the corner in front, and you get a chance to accelerate a bit here. Now a really fiddly tight section of track. Left, right, left again, using all the curbs there. Real test of the handling of the car here. And now the left-right sequence where you really start to wind the lap up, you know, carrying as much speed as you can through here. Always looking at the closer edge of the track there. Keeping, you know, the car's really loaded up here. Working very, very hard indeed. Moving it back across to the right now for our roundabout, which is again a kind of disciplined section. 2 gears down again, you know, just trying to keep it nice and tight here, not going mad and kill the tyres, but you get your opportunity to let it go from here. And now you've got the long sprint all the way back to the hairpin at the other end. And it's pretty damn exciting, I think.
Fantastic, Bill. Absolutely spot on.
Is that right?
Yeah, I think it's fine. I think that's good. Was that gear linkage or something?
Yeah, it just does that occasionally. Something's like rubbing somewhere.
You come in a really funny line at the end of that straight, don't you? You really hang it, keep it right out,
Yeah.
and then tuck in at the very end.
But that works because then that's how you should drive the car.
Yeah, yeah.
You know, it's sort of like you deepen your entry and you keep the car straight while you're getting the speed off. Then when the speed's really low, you make quite a dramatic change of direction. Right. Get back on it and then drive the car out the corner, and you know, it means you can actually drive the exit properly.
Okay. I think that was good.
Yeah, that went okay actually.
It's fine.
Much better for me than a
Yeah.
voiceover.
Yeah. Okay, here's our leaderboard, and we're going to introduce the cars in terms of the most powerful at the top, least powerful at the bottom. So we're starting with a Honda VTEC Type R with 220 brake horsepower. And then we've got a CAD 16-valve A-Series with, would you believe it, 185 brake horsepower. And then we're into the first of 2 Yamaha R1 pad minis. This one, a rear-engined Z-Cars package with 165 brake horsepower. And then we've got a front-engined R1 pad car with 140 bhp. Then we're a Suzuki Swift Mini with 130 brake horsepower and a Rover K-Series with just 115 brake horsepower. And then of course we've got our Rally v Sprint Shootout, Z-Car's amazing Hayabusa space frame with 235 brake horsepower and Watson's VTEC space frame with 195 brake horsepower.
My name's Darren Grasby. This is my Yamaha R1 front engine Mini. Developed it myself and it produces about 140 brake horsepower.
We really couldn't ask for a better car to kick off madness than this totally unique front-engined motorbike-powered Mini. Having run the car with an A-series engine, Darren developed the bike conversion over about 6 months. The R1 is generally regarded as the only bike engine that will fit in the front of a Mini, and getting it to work has been a real test of ingenuity, to the point where this engine has been spun through 180 degrees to get it in. Of course, what's really fun about this Mini is the way it looks, almost exactly like a mild-mannered 1970s runabout, albeit with the odd hint at something a little unusual. Inside, things begin conventionally enough. A nicely colour-coded aftermarket dash and familiar instrumentation continues the facade of convention. But some serious Kirky race seats hint at something more sinister, backed up by this simple, cable-operated gear change. We're not used to seeing a bike engine in here, and, as already mentioned, the carbs would normally be pointing backwards if the engine hadn't been turned through 180 degrees in order to ease access. A new chain drive now takes power back to a modified Mini LSD, which converts what could have been 6 reverse gears into a more conventional drive system. But let's see how Bill gets on. Wow! Well, this car certainly sounds amazing. Bill certainly looks neat in there. The car looks very flat through those fast corners. This is already looking like a really well-sorted car. Although I can't quite understand why Darren's bothered with any sounds in here. That R1 certainly needs no further embellishment. It's just fantastic. Wow, now you can really see Bill hitting the brakes hard for this big stop. And this Mini features tiny Cooper-esque groove discs up front and alley mini-fin drums out back. They're going to get a severe punishing today. Now the handling is sorted with the help of a Spax coilover damper conversion front and back, allied to a rear anti-roll bar and a familiar selection of front-end upgrades. This is the second big braking point Bill was talking about, and while the 10-inch wheels help with handling, they also limit the size of brakes you can fit behind them. It's one instance where choosing a bigger wheel diameter can have an advantage. Now we're timing the laps as usual and posting the best time of each run. Let's see how Bill's getting on. Bill, what a good car to kick us off.
Yeah, I really thoroughly enjoyed that. Fantastic bit of kit. Yeah, just really thrilling.
Now, this is a really innovative thing because, of course, we're used to bike engines in the back of Minis. We've seen that with the Z-Cars packages before.
Yep.
This, I think, is the very first car on the road in the UK with an engine in the front.
And built by private individual. That's going some.
Exactly.
Congratulations to Darren. Yeah, fabulous car. I've really enjoyed it.
That is a mega achievement, isn't it?
Yeah, indeed.
And it's worked pretty well out on the track. It looks, certainly from our perspective, it was working well.
Yeah, indeed. I mean, all of the basics of the car drive very well. Obviously, we're at a racetrack. It super exposes any weaknesses, and in particular, we've got a deal here with the traction on the car. It's not particularly good out of the corners, and that's all to do with the fact we've got a fair bit of body roll. I think that could be addressed, but fundamentally, we need some more droop in the front suspension so that the wheel can come out of the arch, stay in contact with the ground, and keep the traction going. At the moment, you only really need to breathe on the steering, and we're braking traction.
What sort of things can you do to achieve that?
Well, I think two things. One, you control the body roll altogether. So look at a rear engine roll bar for that. And then it's a simple matter of mechanical droop. At the moment, I don't think the wheel can come far enough out of the arch. So as the car rolls, the wheel wants to fall out of the arch, obviously, but simply can't do because of the length of the spring damper unit. So they need to look at that whole assembly to try and get more droop into it.
So you're then just washing off power through the wheel spinning?
Oh, well, I mean, you just can't get the power on because basically it just flares up. I mean, you'll be able to see that on the film. Yeah, it really, really struggles. So basically you're tinkering with the throttle. You're trying to get the throttle on. You're trying to keep the car smooth all the time, so you kind of gather the traction back together again in order to launch it. You know, it's got huge potential, and I mean, if we could sort that factor out, there's seconds to come off the lap time for this car. Yeah, 2-3 seconds to come off it.
Fantastic.
I'm just sitting there waiting for it to sort of regain its composure before I can nail it again.
Does it still feel like a Mini? Because of course it's the engine up front. We've still got, I think, the majority of the Mini subframe and that sort of thing.
Yeah, it's got a Mini character about it. Obviously a very different sound.
Yeah.
And the gear shift's different. So yes, it's changed fundamentally.
Yeah.
But there's still that base character.
Yeah.
We still love it.
Fantastic. What a car to start us off. Onwards and upwards, I think.
Yeah, great.
Brilliant.
Bring 'em
Cheers.
on. Cheers.
Hello, my name's Wayne Hyam. I built this Mini based around a Honda Type R engine, and it's developing 220 brake horsepower.
Our most powerful road car of the day, this VTEC engine Clubman is quite something. It's not just what goes under the bonnet that's impressive, because Wayne has been meticulous with his detailing. The genuine carbon bonnet is just one example. Now, under the simply massive 16-inch alloys, there's some of those big brakes we were talking about with the previous car. And this standard badging is a nice touch, throwing interested onlookers off the scent until Wayne's ready to leave them at the lights. And is this the source of the VTEC's mega 220 brake horsepower? Inside, there's a positive overload of beautiful detailing. Just check out the carbon dash, which retains the Honda gauges in a unique surround. And these superb flip switches look like they'd be more at home on an aircraft. While the original gear linkage will be familiar to Honda drivers. Keeping the aftermarket ECU inside the car is a wise precaution, which avoids any damp problem from location under the bonnet. With a unique roll cage completing the ensemble, this is certainly an extraordinary Mini. Now, those bonnet vents aren't simply there for show, because directly underneath them is a bespoke aluminium radiator sat alongside the Type R engine. This high-powered 2-litre variant of the more familiar 1.6-litre Civic VTEC is a mega machine, delivering 220 brake horsepower thanks to an aftermarket ECU and a few other relatively minor tweaks. Allied to the Type R's standard 6-speed gearbox, it's a monstrously capable package. Now, as you might expect, Wayne's used a Watson's Engineering engine conversion kit, utilising a modified MGF subframe and tweaked suspension components. Now, from the outside, you can really see how high this car sits on those 16-inch alloys. It'll be interesting to see how that might affect the handling. Still, this car certainly looks fearsomely quick. No problems here, I suspect, with the braking. MGTF vented discs and 4-pot calipers up front are joined by Vauxhall Astra rear solid discs and calipers out back. In addition to the modified MGF front subframe, this car also features Watson's rose-jointed rear beam axle, which also means gas adjustable coilover dampers at each corner. this car should certainly handle. And yet again, Bill's looking really quick out there. Can you imagine driving this car on the road? It's got to be a real Porsche beta. Right, well, we're nearly there. Okay, now let's look for the time. Oh, wow, not bad at all. Wow, Bill, we've had some VTEC cars in the past. This, I think, is the most powerful.
Yeah, and you know, you can never get over the sound effects. It really is just sensational. And the finish in this car, you know, it's just right around the whole thing, everything is just...
It is a beautifully presented machine,
Exactly.
isn't it? There's
Yes,
a lot of
it is.
effort gone into it.
Yeah, marvellous. Yeah, really something.
What about driving it? Of course, that's really what we're here for.
Yeah, driving it. Struggling a little bit here with the brakes. Quite a lot of travel on the brakes, so there's a bit of a kind of confidence issue there. And you know, we really are exposed here. We're arriving very, very fast at tight corners. You know, so yeah, that's an area where there's a bit of concern for me. And I'm struggling actually to get enough heat in the rear tyres to get proper rear end grip with this. So it's quite slidey here and there. Yeah.
I wonder why that is. That's
yeah, struggling with it really. I think it's a kind of roll issue where I think we could well be picking up the inside rear tyre, and so in effect, you know, it's all the grip is falling to one rear tyre, and that's struggling with it.
in terms of the engine installation and that sort of thing. I mean, it seems to be producing a lot of power, and you know, the car's certainly quick.
Yeah, I mean, it puts its power down very nicely. It's a well-mannered machine. Interesting steering. The steering is, in fact, it's like too quick a rack. You almost need a slower rack in there. Yeah. I suppose the solution is I'm adjusting to the fact that I need to be a bit gentler getting it into the corner, you know. But certainly the way the car actually drives is great.
Now, I know in the past with the VTEC cars, with the new subframe at the front, the Metro subframe at the front, that's often been an issue. Is that still sort of something you're feeling here?
Well, that's interesting you should mention it. Yeah, we have commented on that significantly in the past, and I don't know why, but I've not noticed it as being an issue. Perhaps actually the way the steering manifests itself, that's really what we're getting at there.
Oh, okay, that's interesting.
Yeah, it shows itself in a different way.
And the gear shift, interesting gear shift, cable change, 6-speed box, of course.
Yeah, and working extremely well. No problem with that.
That's good.
Yeah, very good. Yeah.
Fantastic. So overall, a very competent package.
Yep.
Just with one or two tweaks.
Yeah, I think, you know, there's a few things, but again, you've always got to remember we're exposing it to this sternish test because we're here, you know. So take it out on the road, and you know, it's a fabulous machine.
Great. All right. Well, look, we've got a bit of a change for you now because we're going to do some 0 to 60 runs.
Right.
Hey. Good. All right. Cheers, Bill.
Cheers.
Okay. Now for our 0 to 60 shootout, we've gathered the cars at the end of the main straight and are running back up our strip. For timing purposes, we've got some state-of-the-art GPS-based electronics from Race Logic, so there's certainly no escaping the figures we're producing today. First car is also the least powerful of the group, our utterly standard 1.4 litre Rover K-Series Clubman. There's certainly a few nervous-looking owners down there. Okay, here we go. Well, there you go. Now here's Bill looking down at the GPS kit to see what he's managed. And I certainly hope we'll beat that time before the day's out. Next up is another car we've not yet seen, a Suzuki Swift engine Mini. Okay, now that's more like it. A good time, I reckon, for a Mini with just 130 bhp to its name. We'll see more of that car later on.
Darren? Yeah. I'm going to do one warm-up lap just to warm the tyres up, and then I mean, do you want me just to do a nice sensible one, or do you want me to give it the big one?
Go for it. That's what it's here for.
All right, that's it. Jolly good.
Okay, well this is Darren's front-engined R1 Mini. Let's see what it can manage. That was a great time. And now we've our only A-series car, in the form of this monstrous 185 bhp CAD 16 valve Mini. This car had performed faultlessly during the circuit runs, but then hit a snag. A gear selection problem meant Bill was struggling to find second gear, and despite several attempts, we were unable to get a time. Here's Bill's final last-ditch attempt. That certainly sounds very painful. What a shame.
And I'm sure they have a good time, but it just will not. It won't, you know.
Won't have it.
No, and when you try and get it out at first, you don't want to, you know, it's all together, it's just a right nightmare, you know. You're sort of stuck nowhere, really. So yeah, we just simply can't record anything then. Yeah. Unless you want to reprogram that to record 0 to 30 or something.
I don't think there's any point, is there?
No.
No, I don't see any point in it.
Well, we've got some footage and we can explain it, can't we?
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, I know.
Yeah, spot on, yeah, go for it. Bill, if you want to set off in a second, if you stop side spinning a bit, you know.
Not too much grief for the clutch? No? Alright.
Yeah, spot on.
Actually, it's a very short first one.
It is, yeah, it's really.
Okay, now we're back to Wayne's immaculate Type R Clubman. It almost seems cruel to give it such a caning. Still, anyway, here we go. Oh, now that's more like it. What a great result. Now here's another car we've not yet seen run, a Z-Cars based R1 engine Mini. Good grief! That's fantastic! Even if our in-car camera was struggling to keep focused. Awesome time. Hi Bill. Now here he is getting ready to drive one of our space frame cars, the Z-Cars Sprint and Hill Climber. You'll see more of this later. But for the moment, be amazed. Wow! First run and 3.11 seconds. Now this second run didn't count because of the rolling start. But the third certainly did. Bang, and there you have it. 2.83 seconds. None of us could quite believe it.
I'll give you the feet.
What we do?
Okay, and here are the times. And the amazing thing you can instantly see is the difference between the Yamaha R1 mid-engine Mini and its nearest competitor, the 220 brake horsepower Honda VTEC car. An incredible time. Now you'll also see that of course we've not got a time for the CAD 16 valve A series, but we've also sadly not managed to get a time for the Watson's VTEC, a technical glitch with our timing equipment put paid to any decent runs there.
Hi, my name's Dale Spencer. I built this Z-Cars Mini over the last 18 months at home. It's powered by a Yamaha R1 bike engine and produces about 165 brake horsepower.
Now Dale's Mini may have a slightly unfinished look, but the white and red scheme is just how he wants it, and the lack of windows and other optional extras helps keep weight to a minimum. More significantly, this Z-Cars Mini is the first home-built example we've come across at Ultimate Mini, and Dale's made sure it's fully road legal, despite being aimed at frequent track day outings. As such, the dash and interior is utterly functional. and it comes with supportive Sparco seats and harnesses to hold the driver in place. Out back, you'll find a tuned Yamaha R1 engine developing an impressive 165 bhp and allied to Z-Car's proven trailing link suspension. Now, Bill must be getting used to driving these amazing conversions, having now come across several in our previous DVDs. And lots of tail-out action is something any rear-wheel drive enthusiast will relish. Now, contrary to what you might expect, there seems to be comparatively little arm thrashing going on in here. Z-Cars has the setup well sorted, so that the driver can fully exploit what's on offer without fear of getting bitten. Wow, and the result is that this car looks and sounds extremely quick. Cross-drilled 8.4-inch front discs with CAD 4-pot calipers allied to Z-Car's own rear disc package also ensures this car stops as well as it goes. That looks fantastic, and I reckon Bill's really enjoying himself out there. Okay, well, neatly round here, and I reckon he's going to have stitched together a cracking lap time. Let's see. Oh, yes. Best time of the day so far. Bill, we had that unique car earlier on with the engine up front. We're getting quite used to these Z cars now, aren't we?
Yes, but the very significant factor with this one, customer built. Customer built from a kit, and to me, that marks a significant step. And testimony to Chris and his product. You know, I mean, Dale's built a great car.
Yeah. Now, he's taken a very minimalistic, simple approach with this car, hasn't he? I think it's a real weight loss job.
Yeah, I'd go as far as to say maybe he's not quite finished.
I was being polite. No, I think it is. He's deliberately, I know that he's deliberately kept everything off this car to really make the most, of course, of the engine installation and keep it as lightweight as possible.
Yeah, well, you know, we all know what that's going to result in, a super fast car, and it's there already. I mean,
really?
Yeah, it's very, very nice to drive. The engine feels kind of bomb-proof, really, and that, you know, you kind of, I've learned that they're always going to work, and they just, you know, it does it all so well. It's very,
that is
very
impressive,
good.
isn't it?
Yeah, it's excellent.
But of course, I can't believe it's absolutely perfect.
No, I've got to say it really needs a setup. You know, you can kind of, it's this way, it's that way. It's a bit of oversteer, a bit of understeer. It's hopping and dancing around a bit, and I know from, you know, the way Chris builds these cars, it's a set formula and it works, and I think it just wants
so is that sort of damper, you know, fettling damper tire pressures, that sort of thing, or is it
weight
more
distribution? I suspect that probably we get this car on the scales, the corner weights are not going to be quite right. It's all just a matter of adjustment, you know, and it will come. And that's obviously because, again, we're at a racetrack. You know, we're really looking at all these things carefully, and they're all exposed. You know, on the road it'll drive magnificently, and the fact of the matter is, you know, it puts its power down fantastically well. The gear shift's working beautifully. I think he's done a great job. I really do.
Yeah, customer built. That is fantastic. That really shows that the whole concept works, really.
Precisely. I'm sure Chris must be delighted to have got to this stage where, well, here one is that someone else has taken the kit, probably watched the video.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, no, too right. I think you're absolutely right. Well, we're back to unique cars though next, because we've got a Suzuki Swift engine Mini.
Never tried one of those
I
before.
think it's the only one.
Bring it on, yeah.
It's not always easy to be genuinely innovative in the Mini scene, and while we've a sneaking suspicion that someone has used a Swift engine in a Mini some years ago, we've never come across one before seeing this example. What's so appealing about Simon's example is that from the outside it looks so unremarkable, with its 10-inch alloys and plastic wheel arches. Inside, and it's a typically tweaked Mini with competition-inspired upgrades, such as this additional dash binnacle, which is sat rather incongruously beside the original 3-clock layout. For the driver, there's a proper bucket seat, while the passenger must make do with a standard Suzuki Swift offering. Look under the bonnet, and this is what you're presented with. A simply terrific-looking twin-cam engine developing around 130 brake horsepower. Allied to the Suzuki's 5-speed gearbox, it's a comparatively cheap package to source, and certainly makes an equivalent powered and geared A-series option look distinctly pricey. So, let's see how Bill gets on with this unique Mini. The amazing thing is that this car still seems to sound like a Mini. Very bizarre. Now watch the rev counter on the far right, and you'll also see that this car is constantly at the top of its rev range, with a limit currently set at a heady 7,200 RPM. This car certainly sounds strong. Now, big braking point here, and Bill seems to be going into our little roundabout area with perhaps more speed than we've seen before. This is another car with grooved Cooper S discs behind those tiny 10-inch alloys, and they must clearly be working well. Wow, Bill's really tanking along now. Looks like the conventional Mini Speedo is soon going to be running out of numbers. Now the suspension on this car is a mix of familiar upgrades, such as high-lows and adjustable tie bars, allied to more unusual items, like a modified front subframe and custom-built camber brackets and rear anti-roll bar. What's certain is that Bill looks very quick out there, in a car which is losing out big time to some of our more powerful hitters. This might easily be the David in amongst our Goliaths. Well, there you have it. Equal fastest with the Z-Cars Mini. Amazing.
Before we say anything, that is mega. That really is brilliant. That is a brilliant car.
It's a fascinating car, isn't it? Suzuki Swift. Absolutely unique, I think.
Yep, never driven one before, and interesting because when you think about it, it was a fantastic engine in a race car in the 80s and early 90s,
Yeah.
and the sparkle and whiz of the engine, it's perfect for the Mini, you know, and the gear ratios too, absolutely fantastic.
Why hasn't anyone done that before then?
I don't know, but I would say if you're thinking about doing one, think seriously about this because, you know, it's a Mini subframe in there.
Yeah.
Okay, it's modified a bit, but fantastic conversion, absolutely made for it.
Pretty cheap, I think, as well.
Absolutely, yeah, scrapyard job.
That's fantastic, isn't it?
Marvellous.
But, you know, I imagine there must be a few things that you could tweak if you were, you know, arm twisted.
Well, strangely, Ian, examined seriously as it is round here, it stands up so well that I wouldn't really change anything at all. You could take some of the roll out of it,
Yeah.
you could stiffen it up, give it some better traction. You could probably give it some more tyres, but I don't think I would at all.
You'd probably
because
suffer on the road if, as a result.
I just keep it exactly as it is because it's a perfect balance. It's just marvellous. Great fun to drive. I'm driving it flat out round here, and it's just brilliant fun.
What an amazing car.
Yeah, superb. Absolutely.
Brilliant. Well, we're going to now have a look at those competition cars we've got coming up.
Fantastic. Oh, there's some of that.
Well, this is the main event. are back-to-back with two hardcore competition machines, the Z-Car's mid-engine space-frame sprint machine and Watson's purpose-built Honda VTEC engine rally car. While Ultimate Mini has always concentrated on the Mini's track prowess, let's not forget that the original car was a world-class rally machine. Watson's Specialist Cars has brought the concept bang up to date, utilising everything it knows about Honda engine conversions in a Mini with a heavily modified space-frame chassis and bespoke suspension. Inside, it's utterly workmanlike, with a digital dash designed to give the driver all the info he needs, and everything made to withstand serious grief out on the rough stuff. That's an electric power steering motor you can see under the dash and attached to the steering column, with the race seating for both the driver and his navigator to give great support. The brand's trip computer is a vital piece of kit for any rally setup, while elsewhere there are endless switches and other utilitarian hardware. And you've probably never seen a more heavyweight handbrake than this, while pace notes and navigator's observations are equally important. Two fuel pumps mean that if one breaks down, you can always switch to the other, and here's the bespoke trailing arm rear suspension. The strap is there to ensure that the coilover damper doesn't take all the strain when the car is airborne and the suspension is at full droop. Up front, Watson's has stuck with the 1600cc VTEC in order to compete within its chosen class. The unit has been well tuned to produce around 195 brake horsepower, thanks to new cams, throttle bodies and aftermarket ECU. It's hooked up to a Quaife straight-cut 5-speed gearbox, which puts power down via a Mugen ramp-action differential. It's a hugely capable package, competing in local and national stage rally events. With some terrific results already under its belt, this is a car which delivers big time. And by comparison, the Z-Car's Sprint and Hill Climber is slammed down on the floor, with no need to get anywhere near anything other than the silky smooth tarmac. In contrast to the company's established conversion for a standard Mini, this has a full tubular space frame chassis over which is draped a flyweight fiberglass body. There's little of the original Mini left here, with bespoke double wishbone front suspension and the company's established trailing arm rear setup replacing any trace of the Mini's subframes. The result is a car that weighs a measly 475 kilograms. And that roof intake is there to feed the monster under the rear deck, while inside this is another utterly single-minded competition car. The finish in here is meticulous. Almost everything you see has been specifically made for this car, and there's nothing here to distract the driver from his one task, to get around any given circuit more quickly than anyone else. Look, even the trim has been left off these amazing Kirky race seats. And check out that lovely machining on that handmade gear lever. Out back, that aluminium casing feeds the cool air, coming in from the roof vent to the hungry Hayabusa bike engine. Using a long-stroke crank, this unit now displaces a whopping 1485cc, which, when allied to the trick cams, delivers a monstrous 235 brake horsepower. And of course, the Z-Car's package is a factory option. You can either order a turnkey car or build your own at home. What's more, it doesn't have to be a competition car. There's nothing stopping you building this as a road car. We'll see how both the Z-Car Sprint Machine and Watson's Rally Car get on later in the DVD. In the meantime, let's get back to road cars.
Hello, my name is Charles Gagan. This is my 1.4 Rover K-Series engined Mini. Originally a tarmac rally cross car, which the subframe was already built, and all bodywork and interior have been done by Mick and Tony Pittock, and the engine produces approximately 110 brake horsepower.
Now I'm really pleased we've got this car, since the K-Series package is highly affordable, and we've never featured one before. Charlie's car is utterly immaculate, and has been built by M&AP Motorsport in Wimbledon. Mini builders extraordinaire, they've done a lovely job with this clubman. Now not only are the front and rear arches unique, but how about this fake carbon effect bumper? It's actually a spray finish, it looks superb. These vents are typical of the wonderful details all over this car. And for more serious servicing, the complete front end can be removed to reveal this great-looking twin-cam engine. Although this is a bog standard 1.4K series, there are loads of other variants available if performance is a priority. But don't discount the base engine. They're dirt cheap, come with a 5-speed box as standard, and you can even retain the original ECU, making a great saving over other conversions such as the VTEC. Out back, there's this alley fuel tank, which is another lovely touch, and the aluminium theme is continued inside with bespoke door cards and a unique steel dash which has been colour-coded to the rest of the car. For all that, this is a tastefully simple interior, with little fuss, and indeed a complete lack of carpeting. Specially made pedals are yet another one-off fabrication, while Corbeau buckets are a more familiar addition. Now the gear change is utterly standard, so Bill should be able to snick up and down the 5 cogs with ease. And with a typical modern twin-cam eagerness for revs, the K-Series should scream up our main straight. As always, our big stop is going to be a major test of this car's brakes, and Charlie's Clubman benefits from Metro Turbo vented discs up front, but only standard rear drums. On the suspension front, his car has a coilover front conversion, as well as a lightweight rear beam axle and more adjustable coilovers. So this ought to be a good setup for Bill to exploit. Now the smoke you can see is from the rear wheels catching the back arches through the turns. In fact, you'll notice that the ride height is just a little too low at the back. Like the VTECs we've become used to, these modern twin cams are incredibly practical, and Charlie was one of the few to drive his car here in the confident expectation that he'd also have a ride home again. Let's hope Bill doesn't disappoint him on that front. Well, you can really see how little work Bill is having to do while getting the most from this Clubman. We often get overexcited about the extreme minis, but I bet this is a great road-going package. Right, well, we're nearly there now, and it'll be interesting to see what the time is. Well, no prizes for guessing that this isn't the quickest car here today, but it's certainly no disgrace. Now, Bill, I'm a big fan of affordable packages. This has got to be one.
Yeah, absolutely, yeah. And it's a very sort of mild-mannered engine.
Yeah.
Works very nicely, standard gearbox, that works nicely as well. So that side of it, 105 horsepower or so. And yeah, great, very good.
Least powerful car here today.
Yes, obviously, and in some respects, clearly exposed for that at the circuit. It's kind of it's in a difficult environment for it, perhaps.
Yeah.
But it stood up for itself very well, I think.
Really? Yeah, good. Now, it's immaculately presented as well. I think it's worth mentioning that. It is a beautifully built car. What about driving it, though? In all seriousness, I imagine you could again sort of come across some things you'd like to tweak.
Certainly on the handling side of things, lots of things are happening at the back which are not quite right for the circuit. And I'd like to experiment, given the time, with springs, damper settings, tyre pressures, and sort of bring the back end a bit more under control, improve the traction as well, and we get better drive out of the corners that way. But having said that, I'm sure, Charlie's driven it 150 miles here today, and he's going to drive it 150 miles home in a moment. And we've got to remember that, he wants it to work in that environment as
Yeah.
well, and it obviously does that. So, I think this is one of those cars that probably doesn't look brilliant on the track, and in some respects that you just have to bear in mind that it's not for the track
Yeah,
alone.
yeah.
But it's given a very good account of itself.
Yeah, okay. Fantastic.
You
Brilliant.
got it.
Yeah, great. All right, well, we're now on to an A-Series car. Finally.
Something that should be in the front
Yeah.
there.
All right, okay.
Right.
Cheers, Bill.
Hi, my name's Dave Webster. I've been building this Mini for around 16 years. It's based on a CAD 16 valve cylinder head, 1380cc, produces around 180 horsepower.
Well, finally, we've got to our A-Series engine, albeit not quite in its original form. In all the excitement of alternative engine options, it's all too easy to forget what's available with the car's original power source. That said, with this CAD 16 valves air filters sticking out of the bonnet and releasing 180 bhp, this unit is up there with the best of them. Inside, the serious intent of Dave's car is confirmed. Exposed fuses on the dash and stack instrumentation demonstrate this is a car to be driven, not pampered. A full carbon dashboard and wonderfully purposeful gear lever complete the picture. But it's under the bonnet where you'll find the real hardware. Those filters conceal twin Weber 45 DCOE carbs, designed to feed the high-performance CAD cylinder head with its race cams. It's just the starting point for an engine that features all the big-hitting names of the tuning world. Omega, Arrow, ARP, and that's before you get to the Jackknight straight cut gearbox and Quaife LSD. The spec sheet is awesome. And while Dave's car may have struggled when we did the 0 to 60 runs, it was working perfectly for the lap times. Now you can see here the seemingly strange line that Bill takes at the end of the straight, which I mentioned to him when we recorded the intro. It means he's better set up for this twisty section through our chicane. Oh, now this car is looking seriously quick, and perhaps we shouldn't be too surprised. A titanium replacement front subframe is joined by titanium upper A-arms, and the whole ensemble is rose jointed and features Trick Nitron two-way adjustable dampers for complete control. Out back, we've a SpeedX beam axle, running CAD's lightweight alley suspension arms. CAD 4-pot calipers and carbon metallic pads clamp the solid discs harder than most, stopping this car with no fade. Wow, well this is looking a hugely competent performance. Could the aging A-Series really pull off the surprise of the day? I mean, I don't believe it. Over a second faster than anything we've seen so far. Bill, that looked quite entertaining outside.
You kind of earn your living in this one.
Now, I know, of course you're an A-Series fan.
Absolutely.
I have a slight feeling that you're a bit of a CAD
I
fan
am,
as well.
absolutely,
So have
yes.
we hit the jackpot with this car?
Not entirely, no. No, this car is a real hard machine to drive, and everything, every single thing is a challenge. The clutch is the heaviest clutch I've ever felt. The gear shift is difficult. Dynamically, the car is alive. It's a fight the whole time. So it's not an easy machine to live with.
Is that because it's been set up very much with sort of track days in mind, do you think? Or?
No, really, it needs some of these issues need addressing. Really, is the
yeah.
truth of it. Yeah. It's a lovely car, you know, and you take it by the scruff of the neck and show it who's the boss, and it's not bad, but it shouldn't be like that, really. And you know, it means it's very, very hard work.
Are there specific things that you would sort of address first?
Yeah, I mean, clearly the gear shift needs sorting out.
Yeah.
You know, there are a number of issues with just the functions of the car, and I think, you know, overall, I'm at a point where I can only really say you need to go back into the workshop, address those things, give the car a really good setup.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, weight distribution, and bring it to a track, and then work with it really. And unfortunately, at this stage, we haven't really reached the point where we've got useful data to work with.
Yeah, right.
You know, it's just about the quality of information that you've gathered, and you've got to say at this stage, no, there's too much going on to really be able to assess it fairly.
Okay. The engine, lots of power from that engine.
Oh, fantastic! Yeah, you're right. I do. You know, I've enjoyed KD engines since they very first appeared, and you know, I've had some fantastic success racing with them, and they really are brilliant. You know, I can tell. I mean, getting this thing off the line to do 0 to 60, the first gear bit was fantastic. It's just getting into second that was the drama. It you know, it has the potential to be a magnificent machine, and all the right bits are here.
Yes.
Just
Okay.
needs a bit of refinement.
So just a little bit of tweaking here and there on a few things, really.
Yeah, it could be done. I'm sure it will be done. Dave's very
Okay.
committed to it. I'm sure he'll get there.
Fantastic, Bill. Thanks very much. We are now into the Space Frame Challenge.
Oh,
Hey!
this is it.
Well, let's kick off with Watson's amazing rally weapon. In fairness, this car is really going to have its work cut out today, sitting higher and weighing more than the Z-Car Sprinter. And last but by no means least, it's designed for a completely different surface. You really have to wonder whether some of our road cars could give it a bloody nose here at Cobra. Well, I think despite all my concerns, it's blatantly obvious that this car is flying. It looks and sounds amazing. Now just check out the LED rev counter in the main dash binnacle. Phil must be right on the ragged edge. But of course, where this car will really win time is with its ultra-serious competition brakes. AP 4-pot calipers clamped down on simply vast 285mm front discs. That'll shave valuable tenths off every lap. And of course, that highly tuned Honda VTEC engine is also doing its bit out there. If anyone knows how to make this setup work, then Jeff Watson should be the person. Now, it certainly seemed a little odd to see Bill working away at that huge power-assisted steering wheel. I can't imagine that he's ever driven a Mini like this before. Now, while Z-Cars offers its space frame as a factory option, this car is more of a one-off, although the factory does offer a space frame front end for those after the ultimate VTEC conversion. And of course, with its more conventional road kit, that's really well established. Now, the climbing red lights you'll see here are for the rev limiter, and suggest that Bill's getting even more from this car than he was earlier. I think we'll soon be seeing the fastest lap of the day, despite this being an alien environment for this car. It just goes to show the fundamental differences between road and race cars. Well, here we go. The Watson's time is up. Oh, and what a great time. The first car we've ever had to break the 50-second barrier. Bill, this looks a fairly fascinating car.
This, I think you call an all-rounder. Yeah, this is good for everything. Yeah, yeah.
It's the most
Fantastic.
extraordinary thing, isn't it? Because it's obviously got the Watson's front end that sort of we know again, but it's all mounted in this unique space frame chassis and designed for rallying.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And we're on a racetrack with it, so
We must really be testing it out.
yeah, we're giving it a very, in some ways, you know, it's not its natural territory, and you know, if we went onto a rally stage with it, we'd you know really see it excel. But it's very, very good round here. It's doing a good job. It's a bit of kit. It goes some.
Still pretty quick, yeah.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Yeah, it's well quick. Stops really well. It's got power steering. Electric power steering, yeah, and previously I've not really enjoyed that very much on a Mini, but they've got it sorted perfectly here. The weight is just right, you know, it actually makes it quite leisurely to drive, which is a real useful thing. You know, you think doing a lot of stage miles in this car, that is such a help, you know, I think that's significant. So, yeah, that's good. And yeah, I mean, I'm finding it, I've got a little bit of an issue with some sort of understeer, and just like, just wind some more lock in, it'll be all right. You know? Typical rally driver.
Yeah.
And my elbows round sticks. No, it's that is a quick car.
Looks very quick on the track, I have to say. And of course, it's so odd in the fact that it's sitting up high. It's got these big old steel wheels.
Exactly,
It's a completely different tool than we're used to.
Indeed. Yes, yeah.
Well, it's going to be fascinating, of course, because in this space frame shootout, we've got it up against this Z car's track car. So I think you better go and try it out.
Let's do that.
All right, okay, we'll see you in a minute.
Okay.
But if any car can do better, this is it. Z car's simply mental sprint and hill climb racing. This car has just one aim in life, to win on the track, and that means every part of it is a no-compromise item. Now don't forget that this is a full tubular space frame chassis with bespoke suspension and lightweight fiberglass bodywork. And of course, then there's the 235 brake horsepower high booster engine just behind Bill's head. Wow, this is an awesome machine. Big brakes are once again provided by AP Racing, a product that seems to be the industry standard for competition screamers. And the suspension is just as high spec, with Öhlins coilover dampers at each corner. Of course, what will also make a huge difference to this car's capabilities are the slick race tyres, packing huge chunks out of Bill's lap times. Now, just watch as Bill changes gear. This machine has what's called a full power shift, meaning that Bill can keep the throttle nailed, ignore the clutch, and still change either up or down gears. Amazing. And you can really hear it up this main straight. Just listen. Absolutely incredible. Well, this has got to be the time of the day, hasn't it? Here we go. Oh, wow! Almost 4 seconds clear of the Watson's car. Will we ever see anything quicker? That is something else, isn't it?
This is mine. I'm never, ever getting out of this.
I've never seen anything like it, just from outside.
No, I've never seen anything like it. I've never driven anything like it. That is astonishing. That is perfection. Well, it's not actually, but it is, if you know what I mean.
Yeah. It looked incredibly effective and seemed to put the power down really quickly. You were so quick out the corners.
Yeah, I mean, It's got fantastic power, obviously. It's
Yeah.
got huge traction, you know, and
Yeah.
such a lot of just straightforward mechanical grip. Flat shifting. You just keep your foot flat on the throttle and pull the gear in one at a time, and in they go. And it's just ding, like that instant. It's astonishing.
Running slicks, of course.
Yeah.
Quite a different machine from what we've obviously just been in so many ways.
Oh, absolutely, completely other end of the spectrum, you know.
Yeah.
And obviously, this wouldn't do very well on a rally stage.
Yeah, no.
But I mean, nothing's going to come near going as fast as this. You know, I don't know what the stopwatch is going to tell us, but
Yeah.
this is just in a different league.
Because it's so completely focused on doing essentially one job, working on the track. You know, it's not a road car in this guise anyway.
No, we've got real race suspension on this. You know, this is absolutely the machine that we need to get round here quickly. You know, and it just goes to illustrate the point perfectly. Here we are, we're at a racetrack, and this car's just lapping it up. You know,
Yeah.
nothing's exposed, nothing's
No.
struggling, because this is a race machine. It's got massive brakes, you know, and it'll go on forever around here.
Interesting thought. Of course, you're racing in the Mini Miglia series. How does this compare with your car, though? Because that must be an incredibly effective tool on the track as well.
Oh, it is, absolutely, yes, of course, but it has to comply with a lot of regulations that this car doesn't have to.
Okay,
So,
yeah.
So, you know, I mean, let's make no bones about it. You know, this is going to leave my car behind by miles. This is a Formula One car.
Really?
In comparison, you know, it's like my Miglia is more like a Formula Ford. You know, that's how big the gap is. I mean, this is top of the
In
tree.
what sort of areas? Are we talking just purely power or...
No, it's just everything, Ian. It's power, it's gearbox, it's gear shift, the way that works. It's pure grip, it's brakes, handling. The whole lot is just perfection.
Just at that level?
Superb, yeah. I mean, Chris, you know, of course, he sees it as, oh, it's the beginning of the development curve and there's more to come and everything else. Well, we welcome the next go. But at this stage, you know, this is... It redefines the game.
Really?
Yeah.
What an awesome car to finish Ultimate Mini Madness.
Yeah, absolutely, just stunning. And as I've said, you're going to need a bailiff to get me out of here.
We'll do our best. Cheers, Bill. Thanks very much.
Nice one.
Well, here's a last chance to look at our leaderboard, and there are some amazing stats in here. First off, the A-Series car has come out top in our road cars. That's an amazing achievement, considering all the other engine options we've tucked in there. And the other incredible thing you'll see is that the Suzuki Swift with just 130 bhp has come in second. That is extraordinary. I suppose the big car that perhaps suffers most has been our lovely Honda VTEC car. 220 brake horsepower just hasn't quite delivered it in the lap time. It's only a fraction out, but nevertheless loses out to some other cars. Of course, in the Rally V Sprint shootout, we already know the answer. That Z-Car space frame is totally awesome and has delivered a time that we've never seen here at Kerbera. But let's not forget the Watson's VTEC. Incredible for a car that's really designed for a completely different surface. Well, but that's been a fairly mind-blowing day in terms of cars, I think.
We've worked
From the
quite hard.
sublime to the completely ridiculous.
I think so.
And of course we've ended with this space frame shootout.
Absolutely stunning.
Two completely extraordinary cars.
Yeah, I've revelled in both of those.
Very different machines, of course.
Yeah, of course. With my background, I'm obviously going to love that Z-Cars thing to bits, and that is
It's quite a
just
tool, isn't it?
astonishing. Just you know, running out of expletives for it is just something else.
And then, of course, the rally car really putting
Yeah.
in a fairly stunning performance.
Yeah, I thought really that did show its mettle, and yeah, it's obviously a well-known car, well-respected car, and you're getting it in straight away. It's obviously well sorted, driven very well indeed. This is not its natural environment, but nonetheless, it's shown itself to be exceptional.
But of course, that Z-Cars thing on its home turf really showing how far you can probably take a mini-shaped concept.
I don't think. Well, if anybody would like to come up with something, I'm going to be able to do 0 to 60 as quick as that or faster. Please get in touch.
Yeah, fantastic. Which of course leads us very neatly onto the 0 to 60 runs that we've been doing for all the cars. Not been terribly easy in some respects. It's shown you know, a few cars have struggled, but that Z-Car space frame has just blown us all away.
Yeah, I think, you know, again, it's Chris. He's been there. He's done the chasing 0 to 60 times. He knows what it takes to make it work. It's rear-wheel drive. The weight sits in the right place to make it work properly. And, you know, it's got such a lot of grip, soft slicks, get them nice and warm. and it is just astonishing. You know,
Yeah.
you're more in danger of bogging it down and not getting away than you are of lighting up the rear
Yeah,
tyres,
yeah.
which is just fantastic.
Yeah, really good. Good times as well, though, on the road cars, I think. There's some very respectable times
Absolutely.
there.
Oh yes.
Down in sort of 4 seconds, 5 seconds.
Yeah.
Really pretty amazing. I think.
Yeah, and you know, even the cars which are, you know, not going to shatter the records,
Yeah.
they're still doing really good times
Yeah,
here,
yeah.
and it's impressive, I think.
Too right. But of course, the main reason for coming here was indeed the road cars, and a completely different selection of engines on each and every single one.
Yeah.
Let's start with something that we're quite familiar with, really, and that's of course the VTEC.
Yes. Great performer, fantastic sound effects. Always enjoyed that. Cheap unit, works really well. It's no longer too much of a mystery how you get to work in a Mini. So I think it's an awful lot going for that.
Very high performance variant as well, being the Integra.
Absolutely.
220 brake horsepower. I mean, astonishing, really. And then other ones that are worth considering, of course, the bike engines. Now, we had 2 really interesting variants this time, of course.
Yeah.
Because we had a customer-built Z-Cars package,
Yep.
which we're reasonably familiar with, of course,
Yeah.
and this utterly unique, or essentially unique, front-engined R1 car.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. The R1, great engine, obviously, 1000cc. You know, seemingly £1,000. There goes a new one.
Yeah.
Oh well, another second-hand one. You know.
Too right.
So they're never worried about what you're going to do to them.
Yeah.
And both solutions, that they were both good for me because the customer-built Z cars, that's what we've been waiting to
Yes,
see. It's
true,
important
true.
for the market that it's proven that, you know, somebody can buy the kit and do one themselves, and there it is, and it works, and it's done extremely well. So we've seen that. And with it in the front there, what a great car that was. You know,
And to have done it at home.
exactly, customer-built car.
That is
was
extraordinary,
great,
isn't it?
Yeah, I really enjoyed that.
Now, of course, that wasn't the only unique installation we had. We also had a Suzuki Swift engine car.
Yeah, that was fabulous. I'm really so impressed by that. Just for the fact that it matches the Mini, it kind of perfectly suits it in character. Essentially, also the gear ratios are right, so it really keeps the thing
Okay.
sparkling. You know,
Yeah.
and I think, you know, the Suzuki Swift in its day was always, you know, acknowledged as a very good car, but something of a joke because of the look of it, you know.
Yeah.
But you know, it's very strong. It proved itself in competition, and I think the engine, you know, as we've seen here, is you know, it's just a gem.
Astonishingly effective. Got a very good lap time, that car. And of course, quite affordable, as we've been talking throughout Ultimate Mini.
Yeah, clearly, yeah. I would think that you know, they must be in breakers yards, and I
Yeah.
think that Mini enthusiasts up and down the country will be heading into the breakers to retrieve those quickly. Yeah.
And another affordable package, of course, is
Yep.
the K Series, Rover K Series. There have been a few of those cars around.
Yes.
This one
yeah.
absolutely standard, really, in its spec.
Yeah.
Good performance, really, on the track, which isn't particularly its home turf again.
No, I think it did very well indeed, and yeah, it's a nice engine, as you say. It's affordable, works very well. You do get the feeling it's bomb-proof. It has been driven here
Yeah.
and will go home again,
Yeah,
you know, and so it's very user-friendly, good bit of kit.
Finally, and we only had one of them this time, dear old A Series, fairly modified.
Very modified. Yeah.
CAD 16 valve variant.
Yeah.
That must have been quite fun to get back into an A Series car.
I always love it. I feel like I'm at home when I'm in a Mini with an A Series in front,
Yeah.
KD head. Great, fantastic. We've struggled with this car today. Let's
Yeah.
be fair, but at the same time, it's got a marvellous character, you know, and it's such a tool to get it right, you know. And I just know from, as I said earlier, take it by the scruff of the neck, and it still works for you. The first gear performance off the line, you know, it's just, such a shame.
Yeah.
It's a great shame we couldn't have run it
Yes,
to
that
60
was a
and
shame.
get a time on it just
Yeah.
to have had that bit of information. But yeah, great potential in that package.
So those are the cars, really. Your heart, I suspect, may have been with the A Series, but is there a sort of overall balance for all the cars? Is there some car that really shines through?
Yeah, I think the one that shines through for me is the Suzuki Swift engine. Yeah, Simon's done such a great job with that. I do also like the fact that's actually a real Mark III Cooper S.
Yes, yeah,
And that, you know, there's the Mini fans who just like that kind of detail. But I think it's, you know, he's had it for a long time.
Yeah.
He's tinkered with it, you know, and everything has been refined and made to work really well, and that's just so obvious. You get it into this environment, and it's performed fantastically well. And again, he's going to drive it home. So.
Yeah, sweet car.
Yeah, indeed. Yeah, that's the one that's really taken me by surprise.
Yeah. Okay, Bill, thanks very much.
Brilliant. Thanks, Ian. Get me some more.
Job done.